Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Thank you, Miguel. That was wonderful. All right, how are you all doing today? Great. Can you all hear me? All right, excellent. My name is Michael Davids. I'm one of the members of the Atlanta Council of MoveOn.org. But on behalf of all of the hosts here today, I want to thank you for being here. This event is being hosted by Healthcare for America Now, Organizing for America, MoveOn.org, and several other organizations around the state. Thank you all for helping us put this on. I would like to thank you also for taking the time off of work to be here today. It's deeply appreciated by us, but more importantly, it sends a strong message to our elected officials about the importance of this issue in the lives of everyday Americans. Together, we are demanding their attention and their ear. And we're thrilled to add to our own voices those of today's speakers, who are going to highlight for us the many reasons why a public option is so crucial for ensuring that quality health care is affordable and accessible to everyone. They represent a cross-section of our society, small businesses, doctors, patients, workers, even public officials. Their backgrounds and experiences are diverse, but they're unanimous in their agreement that a public option is a crucial component in restraining the runaway costs and to ensuring that Americans have access to quality and affordable coverage right now. To show our appreciation for their efforts, please join me in giving our speakers a round of applause. Finally, I'd like to remind you of a phrase from President Obama's campaign, which I think is a particularly fitting description of the moment in which we find ourselves. Many of you will remember President Obama speaking of what the late Martin Luther King Jr. called the fierce urgency of now. That phrase motivated many of us, myself included, to give everything we had to changing the leadership of this country. And it should motivate us still, perhaps more than ever before. How many more deaths will we allow before we demand a system in which all Americans can afford and attain health insurance that provides them preventative care, rather than treating them only in trauma units when catastrophe strikes? How many more dollars will we as taxpayers spend on patients whose now life-threatening ailments could have been prevented or managed had they had the insurance to do so? How many more more times will we allow someone to become debilitated and disabled by the inability to afford or access the care they need, while insurance companies rake in enormous profits and their executives enjoy excessive salaries and fat bonuses. We cannot afford to wait one more day, nor can we spend one more dollar on a system that provides lower quality care at higher costs than other countries provide their citizens. It's the fierce urgency of now that requires us to contact Senator Isakson before he returns to Washington next week, to let him know that we are expecting him to fight for what we want, and what we want is a public option. If we don't succeed in passing a public option right now, it could be years before we get the chance again. Midterm elections are just around the corner, and representatives like Senator Isakson won't tackle such a dicey issue close to the elections. To put it plainly, we've got one chance to get this passed before the 2010 election cycle begins. If we don't do it now, the issue dies indefinitely, and with it, many Americans will too. As you all know,
healthcare now! Healthcare now! Healthcare now! Healthcare now! Healthcare now!
That's right, we do need healthcare now. As you all know, our counterparts say a public option is a bad idea. Some even claim it's going to lead to America's downfall. But not only is this not true, they fail to see that a system in which 50 million Americans do not have health insurance is a system that cripples the potential and progress of this entire nation. We cannot be the world's leader if we are debilitated by a sickly population. We cannot continue to make the same advances and discoveries that have made America famous if the ingenuity and industriousness of its people is crippled by disease and despair. Physical health is one of the most basic of human needs, and it's the foundation on which everything else is built. The great minds of the next generation cannot focus on finding a cure to cancer if they are focused on fighting cancer themselves. They cannot find alternative sources of energy if they don't have the physical energy to work and study because their health is failing them. Having Americans in good health is vital to the prosperity and success of this nation, and having a public option is vital to reforming a health system that is rapidly becoming inaccessible for many and offering poor coverage for its price. Yay! Before turning the stage over to our incredible speakers that we have here today, I want to reiterate to you how crucial it is that we contact Johnny Isakson, one of Georgia's 2 senators, in as many ways and as many times as you can before next week. Some of you may not know this, but Senator Isakson sits on one of the 2 committees in the Senate responsible for drafting healthcare legislation. Let me say that again. There are 2 committees in the Senate responsible for writing healthcare legislation reform, and Senator Isakson is on one of them. And he's here, he's our Georgia senator. Unfortunately, according to a press release put out in August by his office, and I quote, Senator Isakson vehemently opposes the House and Senate health care bills. Instead, Senator Isakson believes that by changing tax laws, it will make health care affordable to everyone. That's right. To me, this is hardly a solution to our health care crisis, and we need to remind Senator Isakson that he doesn't represent only the rich, and he certainly doesn't represent the interests of insurance companies. He represents all of the citizens of Georgia, and his proposals don't address the needs of the vast majority of us. The only solution is a public option, and I encourage you to remind him that you'll be sure to consider whether he supports the public option when he's up for re-election next year. And by the way, he is up for re-election in 2010. Later today, we're going to take the time to call his office. All of you are going to call on your cell phones and start voicing your support for the public option. We need you to fax him, email him, and visit him over the next week to give him a send-off to Washington that he'll never forget. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to turn the stage over now to Larry from Healthcare for America Now, and we're going to do some chants before he does.
Well, we have some really, really good speakers who are